What's going on? Welcome to episode 27 of NAM with MC. This is your host, MC. There's been a lot going on, I moved around recently and that was really time consuming, but very rewarding at the end of the day. And so we're recording from a new spot for the first time. Super excited. It's 5 a.m. in the morning. We up and at it. We have a lot to discuss today across all realms. And I'm gonna just get into it with the NFL. So the New York Giants obviously let go of Brian Daboll. Everybody knows I'm a Giants fan. People have been asking me from all walks of life how I feel about this. Like literally everybody's like, yo, how do you feel about this? And I'm glad they're asking me because I definitely can fix the Giants at this point. There's too much talent on the roster to not produce results. They've blown double-digit leads pretty consistently, 3 or 4 games this season alone. Haven't really been utilizing Dexter Lawrence the right way. Brian Burns is having a career year despite all of the forces that are working against him, i.e. Shane Bowen. I think that Bowen probably should have went first because the defense is abysmal. The offense looks good with Jackson Dart, but Jackson Dart has been in concussion protocol 4 times. The more that, you know, the more that you live through certain things that are directly related to this concussion stuff, the more we kind of have better judgment and better discernment about what's actually happening in front of us. I think that with Dart and with Scatterboo, like they're both guys that are very talented football players, and I don't think that them necessarily playing without using their heads as battering rams is going to make them worse football players. But they're going to have to find a way to do that consistently because right now both of them, they're both a couple of head injuries away from not playing anymore. I mean, I'm being completely serious. And it sucks to say that as a fan of the game and considering these guys are so young and so exciting. But at the same time, it like Russell Wilson is a guy who is still in the league right now for a reason, obviously being productive and being in MVP talks multiple times, 10-time Pro Bowler, but he protects himself. He's protected himself to the point that he can still, you know, run at a high level and he tries to get out of bounds as much as he can. And I mean, these guys are all in the middle of the field, just letting themselves get teed off on. And that's normally to me where a lot of the most avoidable big collisions happen. I think that there's a lot of big collisions in the backfield that are almost destined to happen when you have anywhere from, 10 to maybe 15 guys just like in a small little area in the box. Someone's gonna fall on someone and that. Things happen on the edge of the field, like towards the sidelines. But I think right in the middle of the field, a lot of that stuff is avoidable. But guys gonna go down and certain dudes get good angles and it becomes a whole thing. But the New York Giants let go of Daboll. 4 seasons, I think he had with the team, coach of the year at one point, playoff victory. Definitely something the Giants had not had consistently for a while, and we still don't have it consistently. Playoff victories because that was one victory, but it was versus a very solid Vikings team. I think that team won 13 or 14 games. Um, it sucks to see Daboll go. I think that overall his tenure will be remembered fondly just because he did nurture some positive talent. He did take swings at changing the culture of the team. I think that ultimately, certain stuff just got in the way. Like Wink Martindale was a DC that was beloved, and something happened between him and Daboll. Their relationship went sour, and this is obviously all alleged, right? But because at the end of the day, nobody really knows what happened except for Mr. Dayball and Mr. Martindale himself, who's at Michigan right now. So I'm a guy who's going to support whoever's at Michigan. So I support Wink right now. I think he's like probably like more of an old school guy maybe, and Dayball is probably a mix, and it just doesn't mix. I mean, some dudes just don't gel from the coaching standpoint at the National Football League level. And you got to think when they're making so much money, when it's their livelihood, when they come from different philosophies, like sometimes it's just hard to marry them. Especially when people are there for short periods of time. Martindale was there for 2 years, I believe, maybe three, before him and Dayball's relationship just went south. Joe Shane. is probably on his last days as the New York Giants GM because he's drafted some of these dudes, like a Kadarius Toney who ended up flaming out even though he had one career game. I he did not draft DeAndre Baker's. That was like earlier, I believe, but he also drafted Evan Neal. You know, I mean, there's tons of dudes up and down, who ended up kind of being waste of picks, who we haven't utilized and who we've seen, other teams get value from guys who are around the same area in the exact same drafts. It's really disheartening as a fan to see that. I think that when Neighbors comes back, that the question really becomes, how much do you like Wandale Robinson? Because I think that there's usage for him in the system, but I also feel like it's got to be Neighbors, Wanda Robinson on a cheaper contract than you currently have Darius Slayton. I think that before the season is over, it would have made sense to trade one of Slayton or Hyatt because both of them have value and both of them, I think, are in a position to leave the team this summer. Darius Slayton just got engaged to Anna Hall, uh, decorated heptathlete in the national, international track sphere. And so he's going to want as much money as humanly possible, right? That's on the New York Giants. I think he would have looked great in some Eagles, some Eagles colors, or something like like with all due respect to Slay, get rid of him. I mean, you see what he's got going on in these games. He's dropping footballs. He's supposed to be a team captain. He wears a C on his chest, and he can't catch a go route. It's disgusting football. It really is. And he's climbing up the list. And he's passing some iconic names like I think he passed like Hakeem Nicks or something. Like he's passing some of these names in the franchise books. And right now he's just leaving a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths because he's dropping footballs and he's attributing to losing games right now. When in reality, with Neighbors out and with him having to see on his chest once again, he should have assumed wide receiver one duties and he should be out there making real plays. But right now it's a lot of the tight ends, it's a lot of Wandale Robinson, it's a lot of the running backs, Tracy and Scatterbo. Um, but I definitely, I'm definitely like a Theo Johnson believer. I always believed in him. I'm glad he's making plays for the New York Giants. But it's interesting to see what this season is going to become with about 7-ish weeks to go. And with the Giants having no playoff hope in sight, what are you trying to do for the rest of the season? You have Mike Kafka. Are you giving him a real shot? Or is this a situation where he's just at the helm of a sinking ship? You also have Jameis Winston, you get a true evaluator of how much he still has. He can be a backup, but can he be a starter even for a short amount of time? Because even though you don't trade him this season, because you can't anymore, you think about trading him next season if it makes sense to possibly if you're making a playoff run and it makes sense. If Russell Wilson doesn't get traded because he absolutely should have too, right? Like again, I think Joe Shane should have been let go for failure to trade Hyatt and or Slayton or Russell Wilson. Tons of dudes that should have been traded. Daboll should have talked to Mike Kafka at some point and got him to use Dexter Lawrence at his natural position. He's lined up at nose, least at his as at like this is the least amount of time he's ever lined up at nose. And he's all pro nose. He's not an all pro three tech. He's not an all pro 4 eye. Like he is a nose guard. Abdul Carter has half a sack. I think that's malpractice. There's no way you have an athlete like that. And, people are going to talk about he has these pressures, and I think he's had some forced fumbles and fumble recoveries. That's really good, and those are good stats. But at the end of the day, sacks are what put money on the table. Um, but yeah, that's my spiel about the New York Giants. I believe we have the Pack Attack this Sunday coming up. This episode is going to be out on Sunday, so on Sunday the 16th. But